once again, and welcome to day 2 of my special project I called White Thugs of Hell, WTF. This is day 2, and obviously that you're looking at the picture of this knuckle dragger recessive simian descendant happens to be former Ferguson police officer Darren Wilson. Now, he's more well famous and more well known from 2014 up in Ferguson, Missouri, the show me state, the same state that wanted to reverse the minimum wage from $10 an hour to $7.50 an hour. I'll leave a link for that in that description. Now, Darren Wilson makes my number 2 because 2014 was a tumultuous year. And, after the murder of Tamir Rice and then the murder of Eric Gardner, what this guy did, he basically took the cake when he murdered Michael Brown. Now, I've had several debates. I have several arguments. I said debate because normally I don't like to debate. Like that. But it's particularly from a certain coon that's basically on one of the lowest rated social media platforms, and that's G+. By the name of Arturo Carter. He said Michael Brown caused his own death due to this cracker right here when he murdered him. Now, we all know the story. We all know that Dorian Johnson and Michael Brown was coming from the store, walking the sidewalk or whatever, and he just happens to pull up. Now, it doesn't make any sense that, a person like Darren Wilson, like you, a Ferguson police officer was at the time, you come way from another district to come way over there into the city of Ferguson just to go ahead and do what he did. And the way how he told that lie on ABC when he was there with George Stephanopoulos, talking about saying that, I'm trying to wrestle him down. It was like me trying to fight Hulk Hogan or something like that. And Darren Wilson ain't exactly a little guy himself. And said that Mike Brown was trying to charge into the gunfire and all this stuff like that. When it clearly, in the autopsy report, clearly showed that, and witnesses, saying, he had his hands up, which led up to the hashtag hands up, don't shoot. And he still went on ahead and fired 6 rounds into that young man with his 6-hour P229. I mean, the firearm itself isn't irrelevant, but I'm just going by from the police report transcript from what I've read back, what I could recall. But this guy is clearly nothing but just a fucking racist. I said I wasn't gonna cuss, but just looking at him right now, it just makes me want to go ahead and punch him right in his damn nose. That's just how I feel about with this self-serving knuckle dragging simian pale male. Has an arrogant smirk on there, and we all seen the interview with George Stephanopoulos. He just kept saying, I did my job and did my job. And that set off several days and nights of the protests and militarized police, which they tried to cover up, which the Ferguson Police Department tried to cover up, which the former police chief and Grand Cyclops Tom Jackson had tried to cover up, because after all, this is Missouri. Missouri is known as the show me state. Now, to all my friends who from the St. Louis area, from the Kansas City area, from Jennings area, and speaking of which, that's where Darren Wilson came from. He came from a police department that has been dismantled in Jennings, Missouri, where he was on a high-speed chase, chasing down a single mother and a child in a car who was basically coming from the store. You know, he's one of these old wild cowboy types, out of control, and that's what ended up getting him fired. That department got sued, it got dismantled. That whole city just went down the tubes, no longer exists in the state of Missouri. So he doesn't do any different than any other white supremacist does, any Caucasian terrorist does. He goes ahead and he gets employed by the Ferguson Police Department. You know what I'm saying? Not checking into his background, which is no surprise, because I just told you who the police chief was, none other than the Grand Cyclops Tom Jackson. Well, you know, now they figure things are going to change a little bit now, because now, you know, the Ferguson PD now, you know, got a black police chief, which is Miami-owned, born and bred Delrish Moss, and also a personal good friend of mine's. You know, so Delrish Moss, if you listening to this YouTube video, only thing I tell you to do, man, watch yourself. I wouldn't put nothing past those knuckle draggers up there and stuff, because, you know, a lot of those guys that's in the FPD up there are no doubt affiliated with a Ku Klux Klan chapter up there, which was one of the main people that was there. And as you can see, like, you know, the Oath Keepers, which was this right-wing Caucasian militia group, you know, probably Neanderthal recessive ape supporters, who, by the way, also supported 45. What were they doing now in a town that's basically predominantly African American? You know, they were there to start trouble. You know, but I'll do one on them later on in the month. But that department during that time was doing everything to protect what they can, and thanks to that DA Robert McCullough, you know, who basically is another supremacist Caucasian terrorist himself, let him get off, because, see, like, you know, they didn't even bother letting that go to a grand jury, didn't bother indicting him and stuff, so he got off. But, you know, mostly the white residents who donated money to Darren Wilson's GoFundMe page, so he had like $500,000, $450,000 to be exact. But see, as of current right now, you know, he can't even find a job anywhere, which is good for him. You know, like I really give a darn if he can't find anything, but I'm pretty sure he does. You know, because all you gotta do is look in them eyes of his like that. It's, you know, with these peckerwoods, there's no soul, there's no essence, no nothing. You looking at somebody that's descendants of primates, and going by the ears, you can tell the simian features doesn't strain far from them. You know, Darren Wilson, nothing but just a self-centered, self-loathing Caucasoid, and as well as he's a murderer. But see, this is how the white supremacists, that's how they get down like that. You know, they always gonna pick their soft targets. They always gonna pick a soft targets. You know, just looking at him got me mad. And still you got a lot of corruption going on up there in the Ferguson Police Department. I mean, like this, they the ones who was behind the killings of several of the Ferguson activists and all that was around during that time. One notably I've given plenty praise to, and that was the late great Darren Seals. You know, he just had a birthday back in May, 2 months ago. You know, that dude, that was the real deal, man. You know, and see, let me just give y'all a little history lesson. It was right there during the uprising in Ferguson. That's where the Black Lives Matter movement started at. Let me repeat that again. That's where the Black Lives Matter movement has started at. Okay? You know, the militarization of police, because you even had everybody from Ferguson PD, you had St. Louis PD, St. Louis County PD, and also then you had brought in the Missouri State Patrol to try to quell things down. One of those people that was in the head of that was Captain Ron Johnson. You know, he was a brother, a resident of Ferguson. You know, and like I said, like when I saw him and I saw him speak, I thought like, oh, okay, good, we got somebody like this. But then after a while, we seen him appear side the St. Louis County chief and the St. Louis chief. You know, both of them happen to be Caucasian, and it was certain behavior patterns. We started to see Captain Ron Johnson's true colors. I seen him sitting on a panel on Fox News. I said, oh, forget it. Yeah. Anytime that you see stuff like that, and they start appearing on platforms like Fox News, you already know that they're up to no. You know, it was already done by design. You know, but as for current status of this piece of trash here, this piece of recessive sunburned trash, don't know, don't care. I'm hoping he found up in a ditch somewhere, dead, stressed out on opioid or heroin, which is basically taking out these so-called white people at an exponentially rate, along with skin cancer, along with white-on-white crime, along with meth and everything else. You know. But that's what's going on right now. You know, this is one of the reasons. This was back in 2014, and you know, like your so-called first black president, Obama, did a real piss poor job of addressing this. This happened when he murdered Mike Brown, who was 18 years old at the time, never been in trouble, never been respectful. People want to look at the video. The coon, Arturo Carter, I hate mentioning his freaking name, gets out here and says that Mike Brown deserved what he got. He was trying to rob a store, but people don't understand that they don't know about the video. And GMOG Media, my fellow Miami brother, has said that Chauncey the Black Separatist, yeah, he's a YouTuber too, had already stated that how they came in there and he got the swishes because he exchanged it for a bag of weed or something like that. They don't want to show you that. So he really didn't rob the store, because see, the Ferguson police tried to lie, say he robbed the store, and the store owner said we never called the police or nothing like that. All bunch of lies. See, they were trying to cover it up, much like what the Chicago PD was trying to do to cover up of how they murdered Laquan McDonald. You know how they went up in that Burger King and wanted the DVD of the video and stuff like that. So they're not really fooling everybody, because see, the thing is, we in the 21st century, technology is everywhere, cameras are everywhere. The cameras these days are so micro, so minute. You could put a camera lens in an earring, and it can record a video for maybe about an hour or two. That's how serious this got. Oh no, this ain't nothing new. You know, this is something that's been 30, 40, 50 years in the making. But the question is, the Caucasians, these Cauca Mountain descendants are being exposed every day because we living in the age of Aquarius, the age of justice. See, the age of Pisces, which was the illusions, is over. Been over. You know. Now, as far as like when this happened on Obama watch, yeah, Obama did a piss poor job when it comes to that. I'm not gonna deny that, not one damn bit. You know. Because too many of our people still want to be in love with the fact that, you know, so-called first black president, when we already had black presidents way before Obama came up in there. But this isn't about Obama. Okay? This is about me exposing this so-called, this white thug from hell. Day 2. But as far as I'm concerned with Darren Wilson, he can go ahead, he can kick rocks. See, it was one of these type of things like here, and I'm going to say this again as I do another video I got coming up. Why Colin Kaepernick refused to stand for the national anthem? Because long as pieces of trash like this were getting paid time vacation just for murdering unarmed black and brown people. As far as I'm concerned, Darren Wilson, let's hope he's found up in a ditch somewhere, strung out on opioid or heroin or meth.